Welcome to WITI Talks Diversity and Inclusion. We recently talked with Dawn Jones, Intel's Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer and Vice President of Social Impact, about Intel's diversity and inclusion initiatives and her personal experience and perspectives on driving improved DEI outcomes. We hope you enjoy the conversation. We understand you have a milestone work anniversary coming up. Can you tell us about your career journey?
I'd love to. I'm actually celebrating my 25th anniversary in August, and it has been an amazing journey. I would say that when I started at Intel, I did start as an administrative assistant, but I hadn't yet matriculated from college. Life kind of took over, and I had two young daughters, and I needed employment. And a friend referred me to Intel. And after I had been working a couple of years, I thought I probably need to go back and finish school because I wanted to continue to grow. And my main goal was to be able to send my two daughters to college eventually. And so when we talk about a journey that has lasted 24 years, I think it's important that you own your own destiny when it comes to your career. And so I went to my manager at the time and asked if they would be willing to support my education to send me back to school. I knew that Intel had this as a benefit, but it really was incumbent upon the employee to have that conversation, and she was supportive. And so that was my first mentor, if you will, and my first sponsor. And that actually started my 25-year journey at this company. I would say that throughout the 25 years, it has been really important for me to have a focus on being in the driver's seat when it comes to my career. So after this manager had allowed me, agree to pay for education for me to go back to school, I decided to get another job. But before I took the other job within Intel, I made sure the new manager would continue to fund my education because that was critically important for me. And that became my second mentor and sponsor because she did. And she also agreed to send me to school for my master's degree once I matriculated. So I spent quite a bit of time in my career in the public affairs department, and I managed media, community, education, and government. I was exposed to a lot of different things in that journey. I think one of the things that is important for just anyone that's navigating their career is for years we've heard of the corporate ladder. And I feel like my journey was more of a lattice. So sometimes I would take on roles and participate in teams that didn't necessarily have a direct progression involved, but it was something that I needed to do to build up a skill set to then progress. And it gave me a chance to meet new people, develop new partnerships, be exposed to new experiences within the company, and really hone in my skill set. So when I looked for that next opportunity, which would, if you will, take me up the ladder, I was prepared for what was coming in the next roles.
Why are mentors important, and how have they shaped your career?
A mentor really helps you with that day-to-day engagement. I'm struggling with this. How do I navigate the politics of that? Hey, I want to bounce some ideas off of you. When we talk about sponsorship and sponsors, that really is about someone who can advocate on your behalf in a room that you're not in. And it really is important for both of those for you to align your personal values with what your mentor and your sponsor's values are, because they're going to be the ones closely aligned with you and helping you navigate your career paths, helping you address challenging issues as you navigate your career. Because as I grew, I changed mentors. I needed different support. I needed different engagement. And I also think it's really important to have more than one sponsor, because if you put all of your efforts in a sponsor and they retire, then you have to kind of start the whole process over again. So I think that being able to identify a mentor and a sponsor who are aligned with where you want to take your career, how are they driving their teams and engaging their teams and activating and motivating their teams, and how are they delivering on the work, and what are the traits that you look for in a mentor is really important for your mentor and your sponsor.
Why is it important to have both men and women, mentors and sponsors?
For me, I've had a great experience having various ethnicities and the male gender support me in my journey, just depending on where I was in my journey. I would say that the women mentors were easier for me. You have this kinship, they're willing to support, but there was benefits for me in having a couple of male mentors, because I was able to kind of hone in into a different perspective and understand their thought process compared to how I generally thought. And it was very helpful for me personally. So I would recommend find the person that's doing the best job and who you want to emulate, the traits and values that match yours, and be open to diversity when it comes to mentorships and sponsorships, just to broaden your opportunities, I think is really important.
Can you talk to us about the relationship between growing top talent at Intel and reaching your diversity and inclusion goals?
Yeah, at Intel, we believe talent is a competitive advantage. We also believe that talent is not a homogenous group. And when you think like that, you understand that talent comes in various races, ethnicities, genders, abilities, veteran status. There's just a plethora of talent for us to choose from. And we need the best and the brightest to help us live into our purpose, which is making world-changing technology that impacts every person on the planet. That's a tall order. We also want to ensure that we have a diverse and representative workforce and an inclusive workforce. So when we talk about diversity, it really is about representation. Do you have a representative workforce, representative of the communities you serve in, your customers, your partners? And then when we talk about inclusion, it really is, how do you use your culture to activate your entire employee base in a place where they feel psychologically safe, valued, respected? They can bring their full skill sets to work and activate to change the lives of every person on earth. There are a plethora of programs, engagements, mentorship, sponsorship programs. I think for us, I'll just name three. We at Intel, we understand that it's really important to focus on the manager, not the most senior leader. You do need senior leadership and buy-in, but that direct manager that is managing the bulk of the employees, it's important that they have and understand what an inclusive environment is and what inclusive leadership looks like, so they can activate their entire teams. The second one, I would say, when we talk about, diversity and inclusion, is really around the systems. How do we impact the systems that touch our employees every day, from onboarding to retirement? And how can we assess those systems in a way to either mitigate or minimize risk, especially in the age of AI? We want to make sure that our systems are equitable, if you will, and minimize any biases that may be involved in those systems. And then lastly, because we also want to make sure that our entire workforce embraces this within our culture. And one of the things that we do have in that space is, as a company, we have company goals tied to compensation. So everyone is bought into and understands the value of having a diverse and inclusive workforce ready to activate to deliver on our very aspirational goals, if you will.
Tell us about what defines Intel's corporate social responsibility goals today and into the future.
We have our corporate social responsibility report is very comprehensive. We've been working in this space for over 20 years, ensuring that we are a good corporate citizen and that we are supporting not only our communities, but our workforce. And within our corporate social responsibility work, we have what we call the RISE framework, which is responsible, inclusive, sustainable, and enabling. We have some very aggressive goals focused on 2030. I will say our goals are healthy. We're 2 years into our journey, they're 10-year goals, but they are things like doubling the number of URM senior leadership within the company. And then we also are really focused on advancement of women in technology specifically. So we have a goal of 40% technical women in our workforce by 2030, which is, a very aggressive and aspirational goal. But we feel like we work on some of the most sophisticated technology in the world. Certainly we can have goals around our people and ensuring that we have a diverse and representative workforce. And so when we talk about the RISE framework and how we are delivering to that, it also, it's not just about our people. It's about how we run our manufacturing facilities, how we look at energy consumption and water conservation within that. So it really is a comprehensive look across the enterprise on how we not only look at the things that are important to our customers, but also important to the industry and society as a whole.
Why is transparency important?
I think transparency is key to driving progress, because when you are transparent with your data, you're holding yourself accountable and you're doing it in a way where the world has access to make opinions and judgments about whatever data you're sharing. And, the difficulty in being transparent is that sometimes the data is not great and no one wants to put data that isn't stellar out there. But for us at Intel, it is really important for our employees to show that we are taking a leadership and being as transparent as we can. It's important to our customers and it's important to the industry. And we continue to collaborate and encourage other industry partners to be transparent when they're sharing their data, even in those places where it is uncomfortable, because it just sets up for opportunities to do something better and achieve a better result when you have a goal around, when you have a goal and you are being more transparent about it. It is increasingly becoming important, not only to the communities in which we live, for our employees, but investors. And there's increased regulation around a lot of the corporate social responsibility, specifically in the environmental and sustainability spaces. And so as we're being more transparent and sharing our data, it also not only helps us be better, but it helps others to see what they can do in this space as well, and the benefits of being transparent and sharing the data as well.
Why is WITI's Glass Ceiling Report 2.0 important to Intel?
Yeah, I think, the reports like these are critical, especially longitudinal reports that, you've had some time, you've had to, the opportunity to have, it's not a 1 year kind of look back. It is a long-term outlook. I won't divulge any of the findings of the report. I will save that for the team. The challenges that women faced 20 years ago are still some of the same challenges that women continue to face. But it was also encouraging to see that there has been progress and there will continue to be progress. We just want to make sure that we can accelerate the progress through the use of this data in places where, now hybrid work will become standard, more than likely remote work will become standard. How do we mitigate proximity bias in the workforce, for instance, where what if women and people of color choose to stay home for different reasons? They don't have that face-to-face time with leaders that are going into the office. And how do you kind of address that, if you will? And so I think that what is really important about the glass ceiling report is that we can look back and we can see how far we've come and use that as an opportunity to accelerate where we want to go when it comes to women in the workplace specifically. So I'm really excited for them to kind of launch their findings and get into some of the new things that they have on the docket and some of the new things that companies can do to continue to drive this very important work forward.
Can you tell us about the Alliance for Global Inclusion and why it's so important?
Yes, the Alliance for Global Inclusion was really an opportunity for Intel and industry partners to take a look at how we can accelerate outcomes in D&I. So we have doubled our partnership over the last year. We've announced and launched our inclusion index, which does a global analysis of what companies are experiencing when it comes to diversity and inclusion. And it's really great to see the differences in the geographies within that body of work. But really what we wanted to do in the original reason that we kind of got together and launched this is tech has spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to advance diversity within their four walls. It's been really slow. We are looking at, through the Alliance lens, how we can accelerate that. And what does that look like? And so we have taken on 4 major goals that we work on cross-company to ensure that we are setting industry standards in this place and in this space. So really quickly, the goals are leadership representation focused on senior leadership within companies and board representation, inclusive language focused on coding language and just general language that we use in companies every day, bias in AI products and systems, which is a new and emerging trend that all of us are trying to get our arms around, and STEM readiness and access for under-resourced communities. So if you want to know more about what we're doing and all of our outcomes, I'm going to give a plug for the Alliance at allianceforglobalinclusion.com. We have a lot of resources there if you're just getting started or if you've been on this journey for a while and just want some new and refreshed information about how you can potentially do things differently. And we're also looking for more companies to join. So when you go look at our website, please click on the interest button, because we think that the real key here is the collective impact that we can have as a collective and the shared value that it brings not only to our companies, but to the industry and society as a whole.
Can you share your tips for women wanting to grow their careers in tech?
Yeah, I think there's a few for me. And we all, wanted a seat at the table, and we get to the table. I think it's critically important, even more important than the seat, is you using your voice at the table. So when you obtain that seat, how are you using your voice? And, that is why you are there. Regardless of how you got there, you deserve to be there, and you deserve to have an opinion and a voice and what is being discussed there. Take a deep breath, gather that courage, and use your voice. The other thing I would say, and I think it's important as well, and I had to learn this because I used to listen to be right. Okay, I'm going to jump in and no, you're wrong. This is my perspective. I have gotten so much further in life, personally and professionally, by listening for understanding. Because I find that a lot of the times there are opportunities to connect, even with those people who may not have entered that conversation aligned with you. When you listen for understanding, generally you can find a place in the middle, if you will. And then lastly, and this is kind of the call to action, just do one thing differently. If you're interested in starting a program, assess your data, get your senior manager support, volunteer in your community, start a scholarship program. There are so many things that can be done in this space. Support another woman is critical. That mentorship and that sponsorship we talked about is absolutely critical. So if you were going to do one thing differently, go be a mentor to someone, go be a sponsor to someone, reach out to someone that you see potential in and help pull them along on the journey with you.